Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick this off with a wild one. Today, we're diving into the saga of Deborah, aka Debbie the Delusional Dictator, a business owner who was about as tech-savvy as a potato and about 10 times more paranoid. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Boss ignores my 3-month notice, then has a meltdown when I leave. I was the tech girl for a crazy boss, Deborah, who believed that if she typed in her password incorrectly and it asked for it again, the government was spying on her and we had to shut down everything. All the computers in the office. I got paid by the hour and she wouldn't listen to explanations, so fine. I did everything technology related for her for 2 years, but for this story, you need to know I built her website. I gave her a 3-month notice of when I was leaving because it was a small business and me leaving would be a huge hit. 3 months was for her to find a new tech person and cope with losing me emotionally. She was extremely attached. She wanted to write me into the will, and I was the daughter she never had, etc. I empathized with her, but she was an extremely toxic person. I leave on the expected date, and she has done 0 interviews for a new tech person. In the first weeks of my leave, I would take her calls, but she still owed me over $1,000 and was asking me to just pop in, grab $60 and fix something up since I was already there. I accepted once, fully realizing this would be her method of getting free work out of me, but needed the money and declined ever since. The fun part. 1 month out and I'm getting non-stop calls, multiple a day from my old boss. She seems to have forgotten I'd quit. Voicemails range from a cooing voice saying, "Okay, sweetie, this is a fun vacation, but I can't wait for you to get back," to a high-stress and annoyed, "Okay, this isn't funny. The website's crashing. The guy on the phone doesn't know what to do. You have to come back here and fix this and make a new one while you're at it for another company I have. Call me back now." I almost thought that I didn't properly tell her I was quitting, but I did. So on this day, while at my new job, I'm getting the chain calls from the Debster, my ex-boss Deborah. I can't take them since I'm in a meeting, so I silence my phone. Then my mother calls. I think either it's an emergency or Debbie broke my rule. Important to note, once while I worked there, she called my mother for information on me when I was 10 minutes late, a phone number she shouldn't have had and probably stole from me. I told her that, as a professional, if she ever contacted my parents again, it would be the last she heard of me. No warning. I step out of the meeting to take my mother's call. She says what I expect, that Debbie's looking for me, and I tell her to block the number and avoid all unknown calls. Another less than morally upstanding tendency of the Debster. I refuse to pick up any more calls. I put her ringtone on silence, and all the messages get progressively more psycho. Eventually, they stop, and today I live Debbie free, thank God. Sounds like it was bordering on harassment in the end, and you would have been fully in your right to have had the police involved. I'm also wondering how she kept her company going and apparently have another company on the side. Good on you for staying calm and have fun living free from Debbie's paranoid butt. And our second story. Ex-boss refused documentation, then panicked when my code broke. I used to work as a programmer at a manufacturing facility. Back in the mid-2000s, we added the ability to order certain products online. My job was to build a service that would accept the order request from the main website and print out labels in the warehouse, which then got stuck onto the individual items in the order. The labels were printed on stickers, some were round and some were rectangular. We had 2 special printers hooked up for this, little things about the size of the label makers that took spools of stickers instead of trays of paper. This is where all the fun happens. My boss was a total craphead. He was supposed to be in a tech lead or technical manager type of role, but his knowledge of technology was horrible. We should just build the entire website in Perl CGI, like the ones I used to do. Translation, I'm too dumb and or lazy to learn anything about new technologies. His management skills weren't any better. On the day he joined the company, the first thing he said to us after mutual introductions was, "I used to work for the IRS, so don't ever piss me off or I'll ruin your life." I still have back doors I put in there. He kind of half acted like he was joking, but seemed half serious as well. He said this another time too, out of the blue at some team lunch or something. Really weird and off-putting, and highly unprofessional. Not to mention unethical and possibly illegal. And no, there's no way he'd put in any back doors. He couldn't find his own back door with a mirror on a stick. Anyway, my last project at that company was the label printing service. I put in my 2 weeks notice around the time I started working on it. Because crap boss had no planning skills, he insisted that I just plan for doing the actual coding so I could get it done before I left. He didn't want me to waste time on documentation or knowledge transfer. It's a small system, the other guys can figure it out if there are problems. We need to get it up and running ASAP. Okie dokie, code only it is, full compliance with Mr. Crap Boss's orders. I get the first pass deployed with a couple days to spare and spend most of that time tweaking and hardening it and trying to get some sort of documentation in place for the less obvious bits of it. There wasn't much there when I left. Fast forward 2 weeks, I'm at my new job, and former coworker Tom calls me. Tom hated Crap Boss as much as I had, but it turns out Crap Boss had put him up to making the call. Hey OP, SB wants to ask you something. Do you have a minute? I told him to put him on while wondering why the idiot didn't just call me himself. Presumably he thought I'd ignore him. I wouldn't have, partly because I try not to be a jerk and partly out of morbid curiosity. Crap Boss was very polite to me as he told me how the printers had just stopped working and asked if I had any idea what the problem might be. Needless to say, I was gobsmacked. I held back my snarkier thoughts and just reminded him politely that I don't work there anymore, and without actually being on site to examine the system, there was no way I could help anyway. Okay, thanks anyway, bye. I found out later from Tom that the printers had been down for a few days and Crap Boss was in a panic, cursing my name to all and sundry. One of his many stellar management qualities was an ability to go straight to yelling and trying to assign blame, skipping straight past all that pesky, focusing on what went wrong and how to fix it BS. He actually went so far as to suggest I had deliberately sabotaged the system. It turned out that the real root of the problem was that the print settings had just reverted or been reverted to the defaults, so the software was running against the wrong paper size, and in one case, the wrong orientation. One of the things I didn't document was that the print setup had to be configured specifically for the small round labels and the small rectangular 90-degree rotated labels. I didn't document that because, one, I figured getting the paper size and orientation correct would be self-evident to anybody who had ever used a printer before, and two, did I mention Crap Boss told me not to waste time on that frippery? If you're wondering how incompetent Tom must have been to not have found the problem sooner, it's because Crap Boss was riding herd on him to suss out where I had effed up the code. I'm sure the notion occurred to him fairly early on, but he wasn't given the chance to look there until later, and even then, specifics probably wouldn't have been obvious. Next time they call you, tell them you'll be glad to help them sort it all out. As soon as they agree to pay you your consultant wage, which is 3 times your previous salary. And our last story. The battle for my parking space. Buying my place was supposed to be a fresh start, but I had no idea that the biggest struggle wouldn't be with moving boxes, but with my upstairs neighbor who refused to respect my driveway. The property consists of 4 terraced houses, each split into 2 flats. The bottom flats, including mine, come with a designated driveway space. One of the reasons I chose this place? I work odd hours and wanted the convenience of a guaranteed spot. The day I moved in, my space was occupied. Not the best welcome. I knocked on the upstairs flat and was greeted by a woman who seemed friendly enough. When I asked about the car, she casually explained that the previous owner didn't drive, so she'd been using the spot for free. Me, I understand, but I do have a car and I'll need the space for myself now. Her, oh, of course, no worries, I totally get it. She seemed to understand, and I thought that was the end of it. The accidental parking continues. But over the next few weeks, I started noticing a pattern. Whenever she thought I wasn't home, she would park in my space. If I left for the gym or errands, I'd return to find her car right there, but then she started blocking me in. The first few times I knocked politely, Each time she'd apologize and say, "Oh, I just didn't know where else to park," and then it started getting more inconvenient. One day I needed to leave and her car was blocking mine in. I knocked on her door and she sheepishly admitted that she'd walked to the shop and wouldn't be back for at least 30 minutes. I stood there, fuming. Me, "You can't keep doing this. I get the parking's tough, but this is my space. I bought this place because of the parking." Her, "Well, I don't know what else to do. The street parking is awful." Me, "That's really not my problem. You need to stop using my space." A few days later, it happened again. I was in a hurry, saw her car in my spot, and went straight up to her flat. Me, "You're blocking me in. Move your car." Her, arms crossed, "No." Me, "Excuse me?" Her, "You're being a bad neighbor. It's just parking. You don't even use it all the time." Me, "I pay for this space. Move your car." Her, "What are you going to do? Tell me?" That was it. Me, "Yeah, I will." That very evening, I ordered a fold-down lockable bollard. I had been more than patient, and she had completely ignored me. The next morning, I installed it. Problem solved. Later that day, she came home and saw the bollard. I watched from my window as she stood there staring at it. Then she stormed up to my door. Her, "You put a lock on the space." Me, "Yep." Her, "That's so aggressive." Me, "No, ignoring someone's request for weeks is aggressive. This is just ensuring my property is respected." She stomped off, muttering under her breath. Since then, she's had to start dealing with the same street parking problems as everyone else. I don't feel bad at all. I gave her more than enough chances to be respectful, but she chose to take advantage instead. At first, I thought this was going to be one of those harmless misunderstanding stories where your neighbor just needed a little time to adjust. But nope, she knew exactly what she was doing. Honestly, she played herself here. Instead of figuring out a permanent solution, she doubled down on stealing your space. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.